But this leads into the different questions I had. I had a couple of questions leading into this before I get into the I believe it's Western Kentucky is who they play next. I don't know. It's been kind of weird to see. Let me look this up really quick. Yeah, they're going to play Western Kentucky at 8:15 on Halloween night, BYU. Before I give a preview of that, I wanted to talk. There's a couple of big burning questions, and I actually added a third one just a couple of minutes ago before this all happened. But is Zach Wilson, going to win the Heisman? I think that's the first question. I'm going to say no. Here's the thing. Look, as much I think personally, and I probably have to watch more tape, but I've seen enough tape on Trevor Lawrence to see that Zach Wilson clearly can throw better than he can. He's a better runner than Trevor Lawrence. But he's got so much the hype. They've got the number one team in the country. I think if they go win out, it's easy pickings who they're going to pick. Is Zach Wilson a finalist? I think he can be. I think he's probably the second best player in the country behind Trevor Lawrence. So to be quite honest, one of the more accurate, has a lot of touchdowns. He has 22 touchdowns. Throwing and running, which is really incredible through 6 games. Nearly has 2,000 yards passing. I think he's close to 300 or 400 yards rushing too, which is really, really crazy to think about. And just look, I'm not hating on Trevor Lawrence. I think he's an incredible talent too. It's just from the perspective, maybe it's because BYU has played these not good opponents that it makes me believe that he's a better player. Look, there was a play in the Texas State game where they had 2 guys open. I think one guy in the middle and they had another guy on the right. And he just throws it to the guy that's not that open just to show off his arm strength. I don't know necessarily if BYU was intending on doing that. I don't know if he was intending on doing that. Or BYU was trying to say, okay, hey, make some throws so you can look good. But it kind of looked like that. You could kind of make the case that he was trying to show off a little bit because they're playing a weaker team. I'm not saying that was the case, but, you had 2 other guys open. Why'd you pick that guy? You know what I mean? And maybe he was just thinking it was the right play to do it. So, and then BYU playoff chances. That's another question that's been coming up. Look, I'm trying to keep a not drink the blue Kool-Aid perspective, because it's hard for me to say. I think a New Year's Eve 6 game, no question. They beat Western Kentucky, Boise State. I believe it's Eastern Alabama. And then they beat San Diego State. No, it's North Alabama, excuse me. But they beat those 4 teams. Yeah, definitely. I think they'll make New Year's Eve 6. Here's the issue, though. Do they have enough of a schedule to actually get through? And the reason why I didn't think this was a big question when I first was making the podcast was I was like, 10-0, it's a no-brainer. They should be in. They're dominating a ton of teams. They'll have Boise State, who's probably going to be the Mountain West Conference champion, under their belt. They'll have the big victories. They'll have the comeback victory against Houston. They'll have all this stuff on their resume. The issue that I feel like is that it's the schedule ends. I'm looking right here. It's December 12th, 2020. So if we're ending the season on December 12th, 2020, and plus BYU plays Boise State 11-6, has a bye week, and then goes and plays North Alabama, then I think it's another bye where now we're waiting after Thanksgiving, which I think everybody's off after Thanksgiving anyway, or during Thanksgiving. But they have another week off, and then they play San Diego State. But there's still going to be meaningful games being played in between then. So I think here's the thing. I think they need to add one more game on in order to really kind of solidify, okay, they deserve a New Year's Eve 6. I don't think they need like 2 games, but they need at least one because they need to reach to that Christmas Eve, because Christmas Eve is really when bowl games start happening. So if they're really going to want to get into this, I believe, we have to schedule a last game after San Diego State in order to do that. So, but BYU playoff, possibility, at this point with how they're playing, how they're dominating games, how they've, shrugged off their shoulders the UTSA disappointment to winning at Houston, to beating Texas State the way they did by scoring 52 points, by, the way they're probably going to win against Western Kentucky this weekend. But it's just something that remains to be seen. And definitely, and Gregor Bell said this the other day when he was on BYU TV Sports as part of their, I think they have a noon show with a couple of guys that are pretty familiar. I don't know their exact names because I don't watch the show. I only watch it on YouTube. So if I find out the names, if it's, if I post this on YouTube, which I probably end up, I'll put it on the screen right here for you who is on there. But Gregor Bell was on there, and it was interesting because I've never been part of a season like this where it's going down to one game. Because the best team I've seen since becoming a BYU fan, I was born in '93. So the best BYU team I've seen, I wasn't a fan when the 96 team was around. I wasn't a fan for when 2001 team was around. I became a football fan and a sports fan really big when I was 8. So it was 2003. This is when BYU started taking their downturn. And then Bronco Mendenhall rose through the ashes, and you know what I mean? So, but I've never been part of a season where BYU, that November 6th game, is one of the biggest games in the history of the school. The history of the school. I get Oklahoma was a big win. I get beating Nebraska on a Hail Mary. Was a big win. I get number 6 Wisconsin. I get all these other wins that BYU's had in their past. But here's the thing. They were not expected to win, and they weren't that good. The BYU teams of those times were not that good. But this team, trying to get to New Year's Eve 6, and I didn't even know this. When BYU won their national championship, they weren't in a New Year's Eve 6 game. So BYU as a program has never really been in a New Year's Eve 6 game. And so that's where I didn't understand, because there was always the argument, Utah fans, we've been to these type of games. We've been to New Year's Eve 6 games. We've won them. What have you guys done? I'm we won a national championship. But now that I think about that, there wasn't, at that time, it wasn't really considered a New Year's Eve 6 national championship, or it wasn't a New Year's Eve 6 bowl game that they were in. So, I think the big picture is you have to beat Boise State. You have to go undefeated, and then let's let the schedule play out. I believe Jake Hatch had, I don't know if he played it or if it was something he said, but he said something to the degree today that BYU needs to just keep winning games. If BYU keeps winning games, taking care of business, then let's let the chips fall in line. I was very happy Penn State won because that's big for BYU. Look, Ohio State, I thought they could have lost on Saturday, but the second half they just kind of pulled it out. You know what I mean? It was close for the first quarter, and then the second quarter they just boom. They just killed that team. So I think it was Nebraska they played. I can't remember who they played. So sorry if I'm not getting it right. I'm a BYU fan, so I don't really know. But I do know Indiana went and beat Penn State. And I was watching that game, and when he stretched his arm out, I was sitting there dude, just let them Let them have the 2 points because BYU needs it. Because now it comes a situation this weekend because BYU has such an easy game that now if Penn State wins and knocks Ohio State down, and if another top 10 team get knocked down, they're obviously going to make the top 10 at that point because they're not going to lose the game. Now you ride into Boise State with all that momentum, and it's going to be a much bigger game because at that point, now you can get that notch under your belt, and the teams that needed to lose lost, which I don't think a ton are going to lose this weekend. But Penn State, who knows what you could get from them at this point. If Penn State wins against Ohio State this weekend, Big Ten might be kind of in trouble as far as trying to make that playoff. So there's just got to be a lot that happens. I'm not quite sold on Notre Dame. I'm not quite sold on, Cincinnati and stuff like that. People are they are saying Cincinnati's really good, which they did beat a ranked opponent. They could say that they've done that more so than BYU has. But I don't know all they've played, so I'm just not 100% sold on them yet to make the playoff. They definitely could, but they're set to basically be in the New Year's Eve 6 if they win out, which they have a good chance of doing. But BYU has to have a couple things come their way, so it's just going to be a crazy, crazy sort of end of the season. I'm pretty excited for it.